Hello, friends. How are you today? I really appreciate you being here. Thank you so much for listening. And I have a course that I'm going to be teaching on the basics of the human energy field. And I'm going to start that in kind of late February, early March. I have room for 6 people. Actually, I can take up to 9, okay, but I actually cannot take more than 9 this time around. I'm sure I'll hold it again, or I'll put it online at some point. But if you would like kind of a small, intimate environment with me, where we're all on Skype together and you're okay with showing your face on Skype, then, please sign up. It's first come, first serve, and you sign up by sending me an email. I'll put the link below. It's going to be $88 for the course. But if you have a full subscription, annual subscription to my Substack newsletter, then it's half price. Okay, so $44. Well, I wanted to share something with you. This will be an inspirational video, and I want to talk about energy, and specifically the energy of emotions and how we can recognize what this energy is and transform it. And in doing so, recover the truth of our own soul living in human form, and recover the truth of and understand the truth of our human experience. So the reason that I came to making this video is because I sometimes go through periods where I feel like I can't create sometimes it might only be 3 or 4 days or 5 days, but sometimes it could be a week, or 6 days or 9 days. And I always go through all these emotions, but usually there's some kind of something going on. And I thought that I would share with you how I look at this as a process. And what I mean by that is to bring the light of transparency back to the energy field and clear or process the energy. And what I've been doing is I thought I was very clever, because I've been really trying to bring consciousness to this thing that I've noticed about myself, So now I'm made 200 something, almost 300 videos. And I finally feel like I'm getting clarity on this process. And I thought if I showed you how I look at it and how I rise out of this, that it might be helpful. And also then I get to talk about energy and show you my drawings, which I love doing. So because I feel bad. Sometimes I feel bad when I don't create or publish something, because I have an audience, and I love having an audience. I love that you guys are here, and sometimes I feel a pressure to, I've got to say something, but then I'm conflicted because I have all these emotions and I'm having a hard time expressing myself. But I just let that go. I just have to let that go, even though that's another thing that I'm working on. But I thought I was very clever, because I realized that sometimes if I feel too vulnerable to actually speak, then I could write. And then, of course, what happened was that I didn't feel able to write or speak recently, but I was able to create drawings. And so I think I've created, I'm not kidding you, between 30 and 50 drawings in the past 6 or 7 days. So that's so now, and then it was so amazing. I had a session with someone, and the set of drawings I had just finished that day was so perfect for this session. It was just incredible. And it was a blessing, and it told me that I was going in the right direction. So, let me show you what I've been working on. Okay, so here's, like the range of emotions we're going to talk about. And then I'm going to talk about a process of looking at this as being resident within the energy field, okay? So let me show you that. Okay, so this is the image that I often use for the human energy field. And this time what I've done is I've put layers into it, okay? The center of it is the point of soul connection. The physical body is in the field, okay? And then our body and our, being, our heart, etc., emanate a field, and that's what this white circle is. And also the soul, shines through, and that's what the sun is representing in this drawing. So the body is here, and usually I don't put the body in, but this time I'm going to do that so that we can talk about bringing the light to what's going on. So when you're in a situation where you just have all these jumble of emotions, which would be like this. Okay, now here's the person, me or you or whoever, someone you know maybe. And here's just a variety of emotions, okay, that could be in the field at any one time. Well, as I've learned more and more astrology over the recent years, what I would say is that, the moon represents your emotions, and my moon has many, many squares to it. And what these are challenges. And so it's just part of my life path to be emotionally challenged at times and to find my way through that. And I used to deal with it by throwing myself into my work and ignoring anything that wasn't work related. So that, that can work for a while until everything just kind of builds up, right? And then one day you realize, what happened in my life, right? What happened? What happened was you ignored everything for quite a while. So I don't do that anymore. I don't. I really make an effort to bring the light now. So when I say bring the light of transparency, what I'm talking about is this soul light here that is somewhere in the field, right? Sometimes when we're very emotional or we're beset by emotions, and sometimes we have a range of emotions and we're not really sure exactly which one we're feeling in the moment. I'm talking about understanding and knowing that the light of the soul, the light of God, the light of your higher self, the ability to be centered in meditation. I'm trying to address a variety of ways of speaking about this, and I want you to take use what resonates for you. So, turn it to the words that resonate for you, and the version and the way that you see God, the way that you see the soul. Okay, because this is something that all human beings have, even though we may talk about it slightly differently. Okay, so what I'm saying is that there's the light of the soul there. Now, sometimes when you're in a range of emotions, the idea here is to apply that light of the pure soul. Okay, and when you're in the jumble, you may not be able to even feel that, but using your conscious mind, you know that you have a soul. And you can ask yourself, you can ask your soul to help you. You can bring in the spiritual beings of the highest light, I like to say that you work with, and ask for assistance. You can ask your guardian angel, your higher self, but you want to engage not just outside of you, but inside of you. You want to use your mind to understand, I can apply the light of my soul to this. I can activate my inner discernment to understand what's going on. So if I could have this be animated right now, I'd have these all kind of moving and swirling around, okay? So the first thing that I do is apply the light of discernment to what's going on. And I'll ask myself, let me just get my notes here. Let's see here. Are these emotions mine or not mine? Okay. And here's what you're going to find. Sometimes you're going to find that, oh, this is mine. Okay. And the way that I would say this is, see, they're in my basket, okay, that I can hold here. These are my emotions that I'm feeling, okay? But sometimes what you're going to find is that they are not yours, but they're still in the energy field, your energy field, for various reasons. I'm not going to go into all those layers right now because I want to stay focused on a clear story here. But there's information about that as well. Okay, so let's see here. So that's the first thing. Are these emotions mine or not mine? Is what I'm feeling mine or not mine? And you want to have an inner discernment process for this. Now, when you're in an emotional state, it's hard to use the mind to discern, and it's very hard to use the emotions to discern. So that pure connection with soul, with spirit through you, with God's guidance for you, okay, what your conscience or what your intuition tells you, it's really at that level that you're discerning, you're checking in. And the reason that you use that level is because when we've become deeply engaged and entangled, and I'm just going to make these guys like this, okay? So now we're in a situation where there's roiling emotions, okay? We're not quite sure yet exactly what the emotion is. And so what allows you to get a clear answer is divinity in this situation, because the human system is completely engaged in trying to figure this out, okay? Or just feeling it or being overwhelmed by the emotions or the thoughts that go with these. And the thoughts could be related to the apparent cause, like, he did this to me, she did that to me, he said that, she said that, or something got triggered from a long time ago. I don't know. And so there's a thought loop. I call these thought loops and emotional loops. And let me show you how I see that in the field. So let's say that it's in a thought loop around anger. Okay. So what happens is we develop this loop that starts to happen in the field, and it's kind of this idea of repeating the thoughts around something that happened. First I did this, then the other person did this, then this group did this, then this happened, and then you just kind of go through it over and over. It's just, it can be annoying, like it can annoy the heck out of you, but you don't know you're caught in it. That's the thing. Okay. Now, it could be worries and concerns and fears. Here's a big one for the current era. What if I go to the grocery store? What if someone's sick? What if I invite people over? What if they did get the shot or didn't get the shot, or, are shedding? Or what if they're, maybe have a sniffle? Or what if, it does. We can say it now, it gets ridiculous, but in the moment, this is just circling in the field. And so it's not just thoughts, it's emotions, it's building this energy. Happiness is a little less, and joy is a little less, of an issue here. So I'm going to focus on the negative emotions today, okay? So this would be like doubt, anger, sadness, and obviously this is happiness. So I'm going to remove the loop for a sec here. Okay, so to develop a process of discernment, one of the best ways to do this is using spiritual body language, where God gives you guidance, or your soul gives you an impulse or a message through the physical body, because the physical body isn't constrained by your thoughts or your emotions. So you can get a clear answer. Spirit can come through the body clearly. And so if you already have a way of sensing this, like people will say, oh, I always know, this happens in my body when I feel good about something or I don't feel good about something. If you don't already have a process for this, then one of the clearest ways to do this is to see how your heart feels. Okay, is this my emotion? See if your heart closes or opens. If it closes, it's a no. If it opens, it's a yes. Okay, it's that simple. And that's called body kinesiology. Okay, so the next thing is to understand, what do I feel right now in the moment, right? So again, this is something you can ask yourself and discern over. And when you are discerning, you want to consciously tell yourself you are bringing the light of the divine to the question. Because here's why, that you want to ask at that level. And this is my suggestion, this is my suggestion. And if you want to do it at a different level, obviously do that. Do what works for you. But here is an interesting point. Truth exists at many layers in our reality. And I'll give you an example. There's my truth, okay? But what does my truth mean? Does that mean me as a human being? Does that mean what I learned in childhood? Does that mean my understanding of the greater society around me that I want to be a part of and therefore match my truth with? Okay, I'm saying this in a space of sacred discharge because these aren't my points of view, but I just want to go through potential alternatives. Does this mean my point of view my truth that I learned from my mom and dad? Okay, does this mean a higher spiritual truth? And at what level is that truth? Okay, does this mean a truth based in science? Does this mean a truth based on what my emotions in the moment tell me? Does this mean a truth based at the level of light, the highest level that I can perceive as a human being, like the level of my I am presence, or the truth of the source of my soul? So you want to pick a truth, and you want to pick what level of truth you want the answer at. And I don't hear this discussed very much. In fact, I've only heard myself talk about it, but obviously there's a lot of people out there talking about these things now. But that's why I drew the layers in here, because our perception is in layers that we're not even aware of. And so let's say that we want the truth at the resonance of the truth of your own soul. Okay? So you want to go through. Obviously, we know we're not feeling happiness here, because that would be much clearer. Do I feel anger? Do I feel doubt? Do I feel sadness? Like sometimes you actually need to ask these basic questions because the emotions are so riled up. So let's say that what the feeling is anger. Okay? Is it mine or not mine? Now, if it's not mine, then I clear the energy field. And I may discern where the anger came from if I feel that would be in the alignment with the highest good, and I get that through my discernment. Now, we discern the anger it's not from outside myself, okay? Am I perceiving this from outside myself? If it's not mine, that's one of the possibilities. Have I taken it on from someone else? That's a possibility. Is it an offer of engagement? Okay, but in this case, we're going to decide that we've discerned that the anger is mine. Okay, and ultimately, there's a process once you've determined the emotion of bringing the light. It's intentional. So the intention is to bring the light of transparency to this emotion and help me. You talk to the divine. I talk to the divine. I talk to my soul. I want to go direct to, the line that goes to my source energy, right? The flame of God within me that I am, the flame of the Creator, the love of the Divine Mother for me, the love of my own soul for me, the truth at that level. And so I know that if I bring that light to my anger, eventually I will get clarity, because bringing light always reveals the truth. Now, it may be tough, because once you bring the light to all of this, see, a lot of times what happens, actually, let me just see here. Now I've lost my little drawing on this. Hold on. A lot of times we don't even know how we feel, okay? We've just got this heaviness in the field. But when we bring the light, okay, the heaviness cracks up and we can see what's there. And once we see what's there, we can continue to bring the light and ask at a spiritual level for understanding, for resolution, for self-love, the ability to love myself anyway, whatever is appropriate for you in the moment. And this really works, okay, to ask the divinity within you to show you the answer, to ask your own soul, to ask your angels, okay, to ask God to show you the answer, the Most High, the Creator of the universe. You also want to qualify, if you are addressing God, you want to qualify which God you're talking to, okay, because don't make assumptions, okay. That's why I say the Most High, the Creator of the universe, the source of all that is. And having brought the light, we can then go back. What happens is when we bring this light, okay, these thought loops that are raging in the field, if it's anger, also begin to dissipate, okay? And then the anger, as we have understanding, the light of transparency comes, and that can dissipate. So over the past 7 to 10 days, I've had some situations that I've actually had 2 situations, both of which have been years long, come to a head. And in both of the situations, I was extremely angry. And this is the process that I did. And some incredibly amazing and really miraculous things happened, where there were these coincidences of events. And it really, okay, this is the one I want to show you next. Okay, it really was incredibly amazing to me. And one of them is a situation that's gone on for a few years, and it came to a head this week. And so what happened was, as I was going through the thought loops, I realized that, I asked myself what was really bothering me about this situation. And one of the thought loops was that it was disturbing to me that there was no love here, and that was upsetting to me. So my inner intuition said, why don't we bring love to this? And that's what I did, okay, because I had a bunch of documents and stuff in front of me. And so what I did was I physically looked at those, and I've been working with the Divine Mother, okay, Mother Mary, the Divine Mother, on all this week. And I asked her to assist me in bringing the love to this anger, okay? And so what happened was, it was truly miraculous. After a few days of this, okay, I asked for help to pour the love into these documents, into the entire situation into everyone involved. The light of unconditional love in alignment with the highest good. And I asked for that from the Divine Mother. I couldn't completely feel it happening in the moment, okay? Because I thought, I don't know if I have the ability to even feel that in this moment, because I felt so much anger, but I asked for her to do it for me. And I asked for her to bring it into my heart as well, to bring that unconditional love. And it doesn't matter what emotion that you have. It could be overwhelming, sadness. And what I want to say is this is not a medical recommendation, okay? If you have this to the degree that you need medical assistance, then you should see a professional about that. Okay, this is a discussion about energy in the human energy field only, okay? So as I ask, and it's a discussion about spiritual solutions as well. So as I asked the Divine Mother to bring that unconditional love in, the most amazing thing happened. And now remember, this has been years that I've been working on this. So I'm now sharing with you the culmination. So it didn't just happen in like 5 minutes. So suddenly there was a transformation in my field. And that anger transformed into like a sacred fire. And it's interesting because I've been working with the energy of the sun to burn off excess emotion recently. And I've been working with the energy of the volcano, of the magma. And I've been working with that because I've been shown to use it recently as a clearing technique. And I potentially, and I often change techniques or try different techniques because I care a lot about how energy works, and so I'll try working with different energies at different times based upon how I'm guided spiritually. So it didn't surprise me that I suddenly felt this fire because I've been working with the sun energy and the volcano energy to clear my field and to burn off the detritus of what is no longer serving me in my highest good. But it was just so amazing. This fire just lit within me. And I asked myself, is this fire that just was so, it suddenly felt so pure in my heart. And I asked, is this mine? And I got no. And I knew that it was such a pure and almost sacred fire that it wasn't going to hurt me. It wasn't going to hurt my body anymore. It had been transmuted to this higher level. And in the moment I asked, whose emotion is this? And because I had been working with the Divine Mother, what I came to understand was that it was her fire. It was her sacred fire and sacred rage. Just at not just my circumstance, but what it represented about what was happening in general for all of us on Earth, not just for me, but for the people that I was involved in, because there's people on all sides have their own experience, okay? And we're all going through it, whether or not we can, however we perceive that. And what that represented, in general for other people on Earth, a lot of other people, okay? And what I wanted to say was I felt that it was important to make this video because there's so much coming up in the next few months, especially February, March, April, okay? And right around, I think it's around March 31st, April 1st is the beginning of the new natural year. But there's so much around relationships. There's so much around Pluto. And this week we have the sun conjunct Saturn and shining a light into Saturn with the new moon. The new moon it was January 31st in the Pacific, but it was February 1st for the rest of the country and most of the world. That light of the new moon shone a light deeply into Saturn, and Saturn is the energy of structure. And so it's very apropos to talk about the structure of the human energy field and shining a light into that. And as I am making this, the moon is conjunct Neptune in Pisces. And it just couldn't be a more perfect time to talk about bringing the light to our emotions about structures, okay? Whether it's our human energy field, whether it's about structures in our world, because Venus and Mars are in Capricorn, and which is about, our world's about government, it's about authority, the authority over the self, but also the authority of our community structures, our national structures. And Venus is about value, and Mars is just fiery energy. Mars has got the energy to see this through and to work with Venus and say, what are we going to do here? What are we doing? But there's also that kind of a passionate love thing going on right now. But with Venus and Mars, they're just going to be joining together here, and they're going to proceed into Aquarius together, hand in hand, the male and the male passion and the female passion for value and true love. Oh, it's incredibly beautiful. And as Venus moves forward now after having retrograded for the last few weeks, Venus and Mars are going to pass by Pluto. And the process that I just described is a Plutonian process. What Pluto does is it burns the detritus of what is no longer in alignment with divinity through us. And it burns it to ash. And that energy transmutes. It becomes available, right? Again to the universe. The charge is off. Our ownership of it is off. Its presence in our field doesn't need to be there anymore. It becomes free. Or maybe it's energy in our field, okay, that gets transmuted through the process. And that's what happened here. The sacred fire came to my heart. It's like it burned off all the old. It was a huge blessing from the divine. And it was an amazing experience. And the other key story that's going on in the energies as I make this, and I'm making this in, at the beginning of February in 2022, is I've talked about this since mid-November, that there's a story going on about Sedna and Ceres, the mother and the child, and the father, and all of this, and these situations, okay, the traumas from family, from our lives, from our relationships, there really needs to be more love here. More love for ourselves, more love for each other, and more healing, right? Because love brings that healing. We become, whole again. Our energy available to us to use as we see fit. And it's really quite a beautiful process. And so this is the process that I've been going through this week. And now that I've been through it, and I had the sacred flame experience, and all the detritus is burned off, now I'm asking to reconnect with the light within me that loves creating, okay? And that loves sharing what comes through me, to share it with you and to share my experience with you. And I don't know why, it gives me so much joy. And I'm in some various text groups or message groups, and today I end up writing a whole little paragraph, and everybody else just gives a sentence or a link or whatever, and here I am writing, and I just laughed to myself, and I just thought it's obviously time for me to start creating again, and actually putting it out there, because here's a group where everybody just writes 1 or 2 sentences and I want to write 2 paragraphs. So I thought that was a pretty good indication that it's time to share with you again. And so thank you so much for being here. If this video resonates with you, if you could please share it, that would be wonderful. And thank you so much for being with me today and for watching my video.